my name's Fred McNeil, and thank you for watching QAC TV 7. We've started a new show, and we're talking to local teachers. Many of these men and women taught for 30, some 40 years. Some people taught in the classroom, some became administrators, some people we're going to talk to have driven buses, you name it, and we want to share with them their history of not only themselves, but the county. Teaching's fun. I have with me Sharon Robertson. Sharon, how about introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Robertson. I live in the Grasonville area and I taught in the Grasonville area. I have lived in this county since 1974. So I wasn't born and raised, but I consider myself
okay, let's go
a
back.
local girl.
Sorry, how many years did you actually teach in the county?
I actually only taught 20 years, but
okay.
I was involved in many other ways.
Okay, so you stay involved for a lot of years.
Yes.
Sharon, where are you originally? Let's go way back. Before,
Okay.
Where born and raised?
I was born in Baltimore, but raised in Cecil County.
Okay.
My father was a Maryland State Police officer, and his first duty station was Conowingo.
Oh, wow, the dam.
Yeah,
Yes.
and yes, right there. In fact, during World War II, he did his basic training at Bainbridge Naval Training Center,
So he was in
which
the
is right
Navy.
there.
Okay.
Yes, and he said to his brother, who was with him, "Who would want to live in this godforsaken place?"
That curse, they put the curse on
he
you.
put a curse on him, and then right away, as soon as he finished his training in Pikesville, he got stationed there,
So
which was funny.
Elementary where?
Rising Sun Elementary,
Rising Sun, okay.
Rising Sun High School. And then I went to Towson.
Okay, but before you get to Towson, now go back. Any memories of elementary, middle, or high? I guess they called it junior high when you and I was
I think
teachers.
so, but it seemed like it was just grades 1 through 6 and then 7 through 12. The schools were small, very
small. Did you have
small.
any teachers that you remember that changed your life perhaps? Or?
Absolutely.
Oh, who you got?
My second grade teacher.
Okay.
I could probably name all my teachers.
Good for you.
But my second grade teacher truly influenced my life.
What was his or her name?
Her name was Miss Richards, and she had a Siamese cat. I remember that about her. She talked about her cat.
Young, old, and different? I mean,
she was young.
Yeah, okay.
She was young and single, which I didn't even think about at the time. But then through high school, I had some teachers that were incredible.
in terms of what, teaching the subject or just good to you or both?
Both. They taught the subject.
Okay.
They demanded that we get the work done, but in a way I look back and think they were really good at what they did.
Any names you
Oh
remember?
yes,
Okay.
Mrs. Orm, my high school English teacher for 2 years.
Okay.
And Mr. Hackney was our assistant principal. Mr. Scheck was my principal.
And these are people that became...
I got in trouble one time in high school, but Mr. Scheck got me through it okay. It wasn't really...
It wasn't... You probably skipped a class or spilled a glass of milk.
No, actually, Fred, what happened was we had some construction work, and we were told not to write in the cement, but a few of us on the yearbook staff went out and wrote in the cement.
I mean, you can't tell kids not to write in the
we
cement.
got caught, and we got caught. And Mr. Scheck said this would go on my permanent record.
It's following you now.
Yes, and I cried, and I thought I'll never get to college, and my father will arrest me, you know. But it was the senior class president and the yearbook staff.
Now, before we go to Towson, when you were in high school, were you obviously it sounds like a yearbook or newspaper, were you a theater person, writer, what was that?
I was a theater person.
Okay.
I can't sing a lick now, but I had a music teacher that was also, Mr. Black, he was so wonderful, and he kind of brought Broadway to this little high school.
Rising Sun High School?
Yes, he did. We did Carousel, Oklahoma, Sound of Music, and South Pacific.
The big ones.
The big ones.
South Pacific's my favorite. I don't know about
We
you.
went on tour.
On tour?
To North Carolina, to Elon College.
High school group?
Yes, he had a musical choral group, and I was a member of that. We sang at the New York World's Fair.
Did you really?
He was powerful.
This is from Rising Sun.
Rising Sun. He was amazing, amazing.
Now, I got to ask you before we go to Towson, did the teaching bug get in you then or no?
No, it was.
Oh, wasn't you? Okay.
Oh, it wasn't me. My high school yearbook says my goal in life is to be a teacher.
You always wanted to be a teacher?
Yes.
Good for you.
But I started as an English major.
Okay, Rising Sun, theater person. Tell me about Towson's experience.
I went to Towson as an English major, had an English professor. I was thinking about him on the way here. He did not influence me in any way.
Okay.
And soon after 1 year, I knew I
had
could.
enough. You had enough.
I'd had it. I could never be an English teacher,
Okay.
although I love the literature part of English. So
I likes the grammar part.
I met someone, and I fell in love.
Good for you.
And I left after 2 years.
Oh, so you had 2 years at Towson and took a break.
Took a long break. I
How long
took
was the
about
break?
17 years.
17 years? Oh,
Yes.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't graduate from college until I was 36 years old.
Wow. So you had family?
I went
and
back.
spouse,
I
and-
had 2 wonderful little boys. And then I had a tragedy in my life, and I don't know if you want to hear any of that or
only
not.
If you're
but
comfortable. Only if you're comfortable.
I'm comfortable. In 1981, I had started working in Queen Anne's County at Grasonville Elementary School.
In 81.
Before like 79.
Oh, we got there about the same time.
Yeah, I was an
Got somewhere.
assistant because I only had 2 years of college.
that's
So
fine.
I was an instructional assistant. And after 2 years there, I said to myself, I should be teaching.
Sure.
This is what I wanted to do. So I applied to Salisbury, and I was accepted. And then on August 21st, 1981, my 8-year-old son was killed by a drunk driver.
Sorry, yeah.
And so I changed my direction a little bit. But my son Andy and my husband and I sat down and we decided I would still go to college.
Okay.
So I went to Chesapeake, our
Right
good
up the
old
road.
local,
Right
right
up
up
the
the road. I went there for a semester and kind of got me back in the groove of life. And then I went to Salisbury. So it took
Okay.
me 2 years at Salisbury.
To get your teaching degree, now was it at elementary or what was it?
It was an elementary education, so I was certified for grades 1 through 6.
Okay. Now, you've talked about teachers at the elementary level, high school. How about college?
Oh
Any-
my
any
goodness,
home
yes.
runners? Oh, okay.
Oh yes, and I went with Marjorie Casey Hirschberger to college. She was going the same time, and we would
Now,
ride.
Mrs. Hirschberger,
Yes.
that was a principal here? That
No,
Hirschberger?
no,
different.
Mildred Casey's daughter.
Oh, okay,
Oh, you know
okay.
Mildred?
Yes, okay.
Mildred's daughter, Marjorie, and I went to school together, and she would probably say the same thing. Dr. Jack Wolf.
And what did Dr. Wolf teach?
He did everything for us. He just bent over backwards. And at the time, we were not even doing any kind of cooperation with Queen Anne's County.
Right.
But we were able to do a reading class here in Queen Anne's County. He supported us completely.
Terrific.
Dr. Townsend.
That was in the education department?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The
Dr. Wolf.
education department instructors were delightful.
Now, are you commuting? Is that what you're doing? Yeah.
Yes, sir, I did.
My daughter did that, so I know what you went through. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I know.
Snowstorms, rain,
Oh,
big
it was.
classes.
I had a professor on a Friday morning class. I had we didn't have cell phones then,
No.
and he had my home number. And if school was canceled on Friday morning,
call you.
he would call me
Oh,
to
good.
let
That's
me
a good
know.
deal. Okay.
Yeah,
So, good experience in Salisbury?
Salisbury was phenomenal.
Now,
Excellent.
How old were you again?
I was 36 when I
So
graduated.
you were like the matron of the
You
classes.
better believe it. And they had a center for older students.
Did they really? Okay.
I went in one time and I thought, these people are old. And I never went back. I just didn't enjoy
You didn't-
that.
well, you didn't
I had
consider
my
yourself
own.
an older student,
I
right?
didn't.
No.
I loved what I was doing.
Okay. Now, the education courses, did you find them to be helpful later when you began with
yes.
teaching? They were, okay.
Yes, and I'm a little bit of a hoarder, so I did save a lot of what
Okay,
I had
stuff
from
you
those
did.
classes,
Okay.
and I used them in my early teaching years.
Okay. Well, let's go. Graduate from Salisbury, state certified teacher when you leave Salisbury.
Yes.
Who hired you, when, where, and how?
Oh, that was a great experience.
Well, getting hired in Queen Anne's County, if that's what it is,
That
always
was a
an
great experience because I had worked in Queen Anne's County as an assistant. Mr. Wilson was my principal at the
Sam
time.
Wilson?
Sam
Yes,
Wilson. And he said to me, I support you and I will hire you.
Oh, good for him.
So I came back for an interview, but Mr. Wilson had moved to Church Hill by then. I
Because
think
at one point, now correct me if I'm wrong, he was principal of both Centerville Elementary and Graceville?
That's
Am I wrong?
correct.
Yeah,
He
okay.
was,
Yes,
or
okay.
he was.
Okay.
And so maybe he was at Centerville, and then Mr. Gary was at Grasonville.
Okay.
So I went in for an interview, and I did get hired.
Good.
But when we left the room, he was in there. He said, "See, I told you. I told you you could depend on me. Like that. So, I mean, you know, that was great.
What spot were you at? What school and what grade?
I went to Grasonville in 2nd grade. I went back to the school I had been the assistant in.
Okay, so you knew.
I had 5th graders who came to me and said, "Hey, you're back." You know,
that
it was
like
great.
welcome back, Carter.
Yeah,
part
it's
two,
like,
right?
like, where have you been? You know, like I went to college, right? I graduated from college.
So go back to those early years of teaching. What was it like as a young? Of course, you weren't young.
I wasn't
You
young.
raised a
I was very
family.
experienced, and I had teachers that I was teaching with that I had worked with.
As an assistant.
It was such a comfortable feeling when I went back. It really,
Now,
really
who
was. But I need to go back before
going
that
back,
because
go
I
back.
graduated in December. And when you graduate in December, finding a full-time teaching job
Tough,
is
it's
not
tough.
easy. But Bill Patton had my number.
Okay.
And he called me one day because I was substituting.
Sure.
He said, "I have a long-term position that's coming up." I said, "That's middle school." Like,
You were
I cringed. I'm elementary. He said, "Trust me, you
worry
can
about
do it." So Mr. Patton called me in a panic one evening.
He needed a body for the class.
He
didn't
needed a body quickly because Mrs. Fabry had gone into labor and was delivering her baby at that moment. So I had to show up the next day, sight
And
unseen,
this
you know.
is Centerville Middle.
Centerville Middle
What were
School.
you teaching?
Special ed.
Oh, special. Oh, that wasn't. And you probably weren't trained at all.
No,
How'd you find that?
I loved it.
Good for you.
I loved it. I loved it. The teachers there were supportive and helpful, and I think that was.
Did you finish that whole second semester at? Okay. Well, yeah, that's a
Pretty
nice way
much.
to break in. Graduate from college, do that, and find a job.
Well, he talked me into taking a position at Camp Wright
Yes.
as one of the assistant
Counselors.
directors.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, assistant director.
So I moved my husband and my son to Camp Wright.
You all went down to Camp Wright.
We lived there for a
Oh,
summer.
that would have been fun. It's
It
a
was
summer
great.
vacation.
Yeah, really.
Except for
Yeah.
the mosquitoes, it's all right.
Yeah, and you know, no bathrooms in your cabin. You had to go to the bathhouse. But I loved it because I then interviewed for the job, and I had to start teaching while I was still living at Camp Wright.
You kidding me?
No, I started my teaching the first week because we had a camp over Labor Day, and school started before Labor Day. And so I would,
You're at a camp, and then you're back in the classroom.
yes, I would go in the morning and take my shower in the bathhouse.
the communal bath.
Yeah, and my flip-flops, you know, and then go in and start my teaching for the day.
And and then you were teaching a grade level. The special ed was gone, right?
It was gone. I
Did
was
you ever
in.
do special ed the rest of your career?
No, but I always ask for inclusion students.
Did you?
Yeah, I was fond of all these children. And I worked with children, autistic children, spina bifida. I think I had everything. Cerebral palsy. I had them all. It was just all, I flowed with it.
Now, what are some of your good experiences in the class? I know there's a million, but what's some that you remember?
I thought of that before I came here too. There's a million. I should have written them. I should have written them down. I should have.
You can't remember them all.
But I think right now, because of social media, I'm connected to some of my former students.
Oh, good.
We stay in touch with each other.
Well, Linda A. Green told me she's got a email family set up. I think she said 70 ex-students. It shocks me.
I know, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is exciting.
But there's one young man that he has a little boy now. He's married and has a little boy. But in 2nd grade,
He's a terror.
and I'm gonna not say his name.
There you go.
No, he was delightful. But I was strict, and I expected parents to sign all the homework.
Yeah, send it home so they know what's going on.
Yeah, so I had a journal, and they had to write in a journal every night. The little black and white composition book.
yeah.
It was easy, one sentence. If you wanted to write more, fine. I would read every single
Reaction
one.
to what was going on, yeah.
I read every single page, and I made a comment. So, but it was a math paper, and I noticed that he had his head together with another little boy. So I thought, this is interesting. I wonder what he's
going
doing.
on?
Yeah. So I checked the math homework, and obviously the one little fella had not had his mom sign the homework, and the other child said, "What is your mother's name?" And he said, "Linda." And so he wrote L-I, big printing across the top.
Elementary level.
Yeah, so I said, I called them both up. Come here, boys.
Hot.
So I wrote a letter to their parents. You know, I said, I'm not upset. In fact, I'm trying not to laugh hysterically. And the young man who signed the other boy's mother's name became a police officer. So I had said this will not take him on a life of crime at all.
Kids don't know. They're so innocent.
They're so
I'm
innocent.
helping a friend out. I'll put the big elementary level. How about colleagues? Any colleagues that stick out? I don't know, this 20 years.
Oh boy, you're going to have me rat on some of these teachers.
Just throw what you get, with the understanding that at our age we forget occasionally, right?
Well, we did have fun, and
did you have a team? Excuse me.
we did, but the team's small. When you teach at a small school, it's just two of you.
Okay.
But it's really nice to have a teammate that you love being with.
You can talk to. Yeah.
But then the portables came to Grasonville.
Okay.
And they were on the side of the building, and they had a boardwalk. We called it the boardwalk. And sometimes on Fridays, we'd just hang around on the boardwalk and chit-chat.
Sure.
I went into the building one Friday, and everybody was gone. It was like, they left us. Where'd they go? And then one year, the principal wanted to have a breakfast, and we had to be at school at like 7 or something.
I always used to hate those morning faculty meetings.
Yes.
And get-togethers.
Well, we went together as a group, and we all came in our pajamas, our robes. One teacher
Who was the
had
principal?
Lawrence Dunn,
Lawrence Dunn.
and poor Mr. Dunn was standing
freaked
there in a 3-piece suit.
He always dressed well.
Yes, as we tramped in our slippers
Pajamas.
and hair and rollers. Gary Pyle had a newspaper under his arm, robe, the whole thing.
Yeah, you're having fun.
He he couldn't even know what to say. He was absolutely
Lawrence was
speechless.
a nice man. He was shocked, right?
He was totally shocked that his staff would do that. Yes,
It was good.
it was
made a
fun.
little morale and a little, it's nice when the faculty, toughest thing people don't understand when teaching, I think, we're spending 99.9% of our time with kids.
Absolutely.
The conversations with adults are not that often, not that long, and usually on the run.
Yeah, but you find yourself going home and saying things like you would say to a 7-year-old. No, to a 7-year-old. And I can remember my late husband looking at me saying, "Don't give me that look.
I know.
And why are you talking to me that way?"
Well, you have to admit, Sharon, I always get in trouble when I say this. Elementary, middle, and high school teachers, and we talked a little bit before, completely different.
We are. We are.
I hear Dave Cooper's wife, Sally Cooper, she goes, "How the friends doing?" Now, we're a high school teacher.
I know.
If you say to them, high school kids, "How the friends doing?" the kids would throw you out. But
Yeah.
it takes a special skill, and anytime you can get together. But you have to realize we're different, right?
That's funny that you brought that up because I used that one time at a meeting with adults, and I said, "Okay, friends, now we're," and they just looked at me and said, "What did you just say?"
Sharon, I have a hard time. I don't know how you feel about this. We make elementary people administrators in high schools. No, you're
No.
elementary. There's not. Look at all levels are important.
Yes.
All levels have a job to educate children, but don't take an elementary teacher and ask them to start dealing with 16, 17.
I can high five you on that
Okay,
one.
good.
Knuckle
It's a
punch.
constant battle.
It is. I don't know. I really admire the administrators who go into those positions, but I don't feel that it's fair.
No.
I really don't.
It's different. It's just, like I say, it's just totally different. Look, at anybody can teach a young person to read, write, and listen, which elementary teachers do. It's total different skill set than a person that's teaching you the Second Amendment of the Constitution and the history of Europe, right?
Right.
And I don't think we give. I found, and you tell me how you felt. High school teachers thought they were better than middle school teachers. Middle school teachers thought they. Now wait a minute, gang. High school teachers, sit down, open your book to page 55. Remember, I was a high school teacher. Read the next 10 pages and write me an essay.
Right.
For elementary school teachers, friends, does someone need to go to the bathroom? Can I tie your shoe? I mean,
We're totally engaged with our students. Totally. And that what you're saying is true, and I'm certainly not knocking those levels, but we all went to college. We all have bachelor's degrees. Many of us have master's degrees, and some have PhDs. So we're all very, very educated. But my late husband said to me one time, he said, sometimes when I look at your career, I feel like you're being treated like the age of the children that you teach.
It's very unfair, I thought.
Like elementary teachers are not given the respect that the high school teachers
Sharon,
have.
teaching somebody to read and add.
what
I
I
wouldn't know how to do it.
Well, just keeping control.
Yes.
Just absolutely.
They're jumping up and, I mean, the middle school teachers I respect because the kids are hormone crazed. And
Sure.
we don't say that publicly, but they are. Elementary kids are like, they're always jumping up and down.
Well, they come in the morning and their thermos is opened in their lunchbox, and you've got
It's leaking
it's
chicken
leaking soup or something, fruit punch everywhere. Somebody needs a Band-Aid. I mean, we have all these
Tie
little
the shoe.
shoes. Tie my shoes. The
It wears
shoes.
you out.
Yeah, and I had one little guy. I mean, he just gave up, and when Crocs became popular, he was
He bought into it.
yay Crocs because I don't have to tie my shoes anymore.
And rightfully so. Well, if I was a teacher in elementary, I'd say all of you are wearing Crocs. There's no question about it. Did you stay the same? Now you said 20 years. Did you stay the same level the whole time? Or?
I did. Okay. I did. I came back after I left teaching. I took a year off. My granddaughter was born, and I was needed at home. And then I did not go back.
Okay.
But instead, I went to Chesapeake College, and I worked at the Chesapeake Child Care Resource Center as an instructor for child care providers.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I started thinking, there's a real world out here.
Yeah.
And the first day I went to work, I called my husband and I said, I just love this job. And he said, what do you love about it? I said, I don't know, I just love it. I just love it.
It's different. It's different.
I'm kind of working with kids, but indirectly. Yeah. And he said, does it have a nice bathroom? I said, it does. He said, can you go when you want to? I said, I can.
Bob, do you remember the name Bob Hunter?
Oh, yeah,
Bob Hunter was a bit of a character. He worked at the high school, and I said, Bob, why did you get into counseling? He said, Fred, one reason. I said, why? I can go to the bathroom whenever I want to.
God bless him.
If you got 30 kids, you can, hey kids, I'll be back in 5. No, you're not.
You can't do that. I actually sent a note to the office one time, and the secretary, I said, I am not feeling well. I need to use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And she sent a note back to me and said, no one's available to help you.
Let your bladder burst.
So I just lined them all up and we went down the hall together. I couldn't leave them. No. I could not leave them.
I mean, I don't know how you, I can remember Bill Young, who you and I were talking before he went on the air, used to tell, look at, when those kids walk in your room, you are responsible for everything that takes place.
Yeah.
Everything. So if you leave the room with 30 adolescents or 30 elementary kids, imagine what you're opening the doors to, right?
I know, and then when you think about what you're responsible for, there's a little sadness in my heart because I've had children that were abused, and I've had to report them, and you have to call social service.
By law, yes.
By law, I have to. And I've had 3 where I had to call social services for intervention. I don't know that people think about that. Yeah. I've had children who come not ready for school, meaning they're hungry, they're lacking the clothing that they need.
No paper, no pencils. Some of them haven't showered. Some of them haven't brushed their teeth.
I had one that his mother had goals set by Chester Y Center, and I had to make sure that he washed his face and brushed his teeth when he got to school in the morning. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if teachers still do that, but we did that. Back in the 80s, that's what we did. Sure. And I've broken glasses. I've had glasses repaired. I had 2 little boys, one in my class and a brother in 3rd grade, shared a coat. Didn't find out for like a week when we caught him out on the
winter coat.
Yeah, on the boardwalk because they had different recess times. Yeah. They were trading the coats. So we tracked down coats for them. It's kind of endless.
Well, for 7.5 hours, I mean, it's not politically correct to say anymore, but we are the parents.
We are.
We understood that, no, we're not the real parent, but I want you to know your child is coming here and I'm watching them like you do, all right? Mm-hmm. Making sure you're eating, making sure you're things you've been talking about. And you do that, all of a sudden there's 30 kids plugged into you. And every day, I had the 10% rule, Sharon. Every day, 10% of the kids had an issue. Didn't have a breakfast, parents might have yelled at them. The issue you talked about, no coat, no breakfast, that type, and you had to deal with it.
You have to deal with it.
And plus teach your subject.
Yeah, and I've always tried to convince parents that they're the most important people in their child's life.
Of course.
And if something's going on in their child's life, please share it with me,
Right.
and I will try to help you to help them. I mean, it's sort of the triangle, and I have to work with them.
Sure.
At Chesapeake College, I was part of a group called Project Right Steps, and we were behavioral specialists for children in child care from birth to age 5. Lots of times, child care providers don't quite understand what's going on with the child. Is it behavioral or is it developmental?
Yes.
And so we try to say, parents, you, and the child, we all have to work together on this. Lots of times it's, for a 2-year-old, it's behavioral. The temper tantrums,
Well, the hardest
etc.
thing, you tell me if you agree, if you want to, being a teacher, it never ends. It really is a 24/7. I mean, besides your preparation at night, grading papers, doing a lesson plan, which is a whole other thing that drives you crazy, you have to think about little Johnny. Hey, I got to call his parents and tell him, he didn't have a coat. Or, you know what, I don't think he's eating breakfast.
Yeah,
But
how can I help you?
Yeah, and sometimes it's humorous. It's like, hey, do you know what your son did or daughter did?
Yeah.
And that made it fun.
My first calls with parents, I always tried to make a call within that first week of school so it was positive.
Yes.
So I would establish a positive rapport with the
They knew
parent,
who
like,
you were and you
oh, I'm
cared."
so excited to have your child this year. So that, well, I'd already sent them a postcard before school started.
Come into my class.
Yes, and so now, and it's now I have this little nanny position at, my private life, and my children, I'm not really a nanny because they're too old for nanny, but there's an 11th grader, an 8th grader, and a 4th grader.
That's a fun age, yeah.
And I am
Age
getting
is.
a taste of all age groups.
Oh, it's great. High school, middle school, and elementary.
But I'm really glad I stayed in elementary school because those 2 older ones are wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful, but I thought, I do not think I could teach
Little
that
kids
age.
still love you. I mean, as you know, as a Grasonville, I was lucky. I taught K through 12. The little ones, when we were allowed to, would hug you.
Oh, they
By
do.
mistake, would always say, I love you. You go,
I know.
"Oh," at the high school, they're still good, but they have to keep their high school cool, which is okay.
Sure.
They have to. And in middle school, the hormones, they don't know where they are.
I know. I can't imagine the 8th grade boy hugging me ever in the
No,
morning,
and they
but
won't.
the 4th grade girl.
You can't get an 8th grade boy to hug his mother.
True. That is
Now, Sharon,
probably
do me a favor. My editor always insists. Let me ask you standard questions for teachers.
Sure.
1, if you had the opportunity all over, let's flip back to 1970s, whatever the year were, would you get into teaching?
I would.
Oh, good. Okay.
I
that's
would.
good.
I would.
It's a great program. No, people don't realize. I didn't work a day in my life. I don't know how you felt about it.
I loved my job.
I
I loved my job.
We had bad days, but the profession was terrific.
There, I could probably write a book of all the things I don't like about it,
But that's okay.
but that's
job's, yeah.
part of the job.
Now, let me ask you this, because I hear all this fussing. No one wants to go into teaching. What would you tell a young person? Should they go into teaching? Okay. What would help them? What keys did you learn over your 20 years that would help a young teacher?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Go in with eyes wide open, be embracing, accept what's going on. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
Don't try to do
That's
it.
important. That's
don't
important.
try to do it by yourself.
Can't.
This family I work for, their oldest is a sophomore at Slippery Rock, and she's going into education.
good for her.
I can't wait to talk to her now
Yay.
about this. Yes, both her parents are educators, though.
Good.
My granddaughter may go into education.
You
She's
encourage them all.
a biology major.
I don't know. It's the best way. Look at, we're underpaid, overworked.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not cliches, but you know what? You go to bed, and for 30 years I slept like a baby because we go,
I know.
oh, this
It's
is a
like,
great job.
it is so rewarding.
Yes.
And you have to embrace those positive moments.
Yes. And they're there. Every day they're there.
They are. Look for those positive moments. And they may be hard to find some days. But
Yeah, we all have days like
Yeah.
that. Now, let me ask you this. We've done students. Teachers, let's go to the students. What people don't understand, we want everybody to be successful.
Yeah.
We don't want to give the C's and the D's, right? We want them.
No, we
What
don't.
would you tell young people? What's some advice to make them successful in school, whatever level?
Well, I tell my little 4th grader, read more.
Okay.
Read more. Please read more. Follow directions. Listen to the rules. But if you don't like something, Don't be afraid to speak up for
Raise your hand.
yourself. Raise your hand. I hope I taught some of my second graders that.
I'm sure you did.
I hope I did, because I actually shocked Mr. Dunn one time when I had a second
Poor
grade.
Lawrence, between your hair curlers and
Yeah, I
everything.
know. I shocked him because I had a student that didn't like one of these positive incentive programs that they were having. And I said, write it down.
Yeah.
Write your concerns down.
Good.
Don't just blab them off to me. And he did, and so we had a meeting. So don't be afraid to speak up for
Good for
yourself.
you. Yeah, okay, so that's a,
And be kind.
yes.
Definitely.
And we're all, we're going to close with this, and you tell me what you think. We're all on the same team.
We are.
You talk about your triangle. Students, parents, teachers, there's nothing we can't do.
That's right.
But if one of the links gets off track, we're in trouble.
I absolutely agree.
And
I absolutely agree.
And it's fun for all of us.
And I love character counts, and I did that for a long time.
Okay.
I'm not sure why I'm not doing it
Do
now.
it, they're recruiting. They're recruiting.
I know they're recruiting, but I'm so involved with other things.
Sure you are. You're busy. Well, look at you. Was that not the quickest 30 minutes of your life?
Is
that
it
was 30 minutes. We're still, all right? See?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
It goes that quick. Well, look, first of all, thank you for all your
Oh,
years.
thank you for
okay?
calling
Get
me.
your friend to come to our veterans meetings, please.
I love veterans. I mean, I never thought about it for a long time. Why wasn't I involved with veterans long before now? My father was World War II Navy, and he has an incredible career in the Navy during World War II. I am involved with the VFW. I've been their chaplain. I am now their secretary.
Thank you for doing that.
I love that.
Oh, they're great. They're like the kids. You love them. You love them.
It's like great.
Well, thank you again. My name's Fred McNeil. Thank you for watching QAC TV 7. Every other week we get someone from our educational community. Watch them. They might have taught you. And when you see them in Acme, say thank you for teaching. My name's Fred McNeil. My time's up. Thank you for your time. We're going to see you next time.